everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. But today we're working on another TV series episode of the final season of Better Call Saul. Or should I say, Breaking Bad Revisited. Because that's what it is now. Better Call Saul is like, a distant memory, a little bit fading, kind of making an appearance or two. So, the episode, which it seems like many of the episodes of the season, is a two-sentence. I think it's point and shoot. So it's two verbs connected by a conjunction word. And, point, and shoot. And of course, if it's anything in Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad, what do you think the shoot is? Camera work? I don't think so. But you just use your imagination before we say anything. Or if you've already seen it, you know perfectly well what shoot means. Okay. So the episode number is, I don't know, but there's only a few more episodes left. A lot more than one or two, but still not that many, half a dozen maybe. And then it will be over. There will be no more Better Call Saul. And that's it. So actually we're leaving off, this episode was a leaving off of what happened last time, which everybody knows was really sad and devastating, scary. Marco was like, because he predicted it all. He had heard rumors, he had seen spoilers or read spoilers or whatever. He told me a little bit about him, but I just kind of ignored it because, you don't know what's what until it really happens. And I have so much going on anyway, just kind of put it on the shelf and walked away. But apparently the things that he had heard or read were kind of true. And then he just put together everything, and he's going to tell you all about it. Go ahead, Marco.
Okay. Well, first off, this episode was trash, which is something that you guys probably would have already predicted that I would say, and it's really just because this is not the show that we watched years ago. In fact, every single episode, more and more, this whole series is just starting to feel like a gigantic waste of time. Because when you watch all the older seasons, you're going to watch them knowing this is where that story goes, this is where that thing goes. And they're not good story resolutions. They're not good conclusions for the characters or anything. It's just so unsatisfying, everything that happens. Mostly all the stuff in this episode is just Breaking Bad fan service. There's no danger that you feel at all. Because, even if Kim did die, who cares? It's just one character. And she's basically hijacked the entire show. And so if she died, I'd be like, great, finally we can get back to being Better Call Saul, not Better Call Kim. And, Lalo, his character, he was really good, he was really smart, and you were rooting for him because seven innocent people that he knew got killed for no reason.
And he brought that up, too. It's the first time I think I've heard that, right?
And so you're rooting for him, yeah. Mm-hmm. But then they just turn him into a dummy so that he can get killed really easily, and that it can all just be resolved so that they can take their little checklist with all their little things on it, like, okay, that character's dead, check. That character's dead. Check. That storyline is over. Check. That storyline is over. Check. That's what they just do this whole season, is just take all these storylines and characters and just check off their little boxes. But if you've been smart enough to pay attention the whole series, you would notice that they started doing that in season 4, where instead of just telling an organic, natural story, they have this mindset where they can't make more than a certain amount of episodes, a certain amount of seasons, and so they were already thinking about ending the show in season 4, because they can have their little checklist and say, okay, Jimmy changes his name to Saul. Jimmy
Check.
does this. Check, 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 check. That's the whole show. What it became. And what was it after that? Better Call Kim mixed with Breaking Bad fan service. Oh wow, there's a scene of Gus doing something cool. Wow. I've never seen that before a million fucking times. Oh wow, there's a scene of Mike and he's running around angry and he makes an angry speech to someone. Wow, I've never seen that before for the millionth fucking time. That's what this episode was. It was just a complete disappointment. I mean, especially after last episode, where even though the whole episode wasn't perfect because it didn't make any sense, the first half was at least entertaining, and it reminded me of the old Better Call Saul back when the show was good. But then this whole episode was just stupid. It was just straight up one of the stupidest episodes I've seen in the entire series. In fact, this might be one of the top 5 worst episodes of the whole series, because you took that character of Lalo, and his plan makes no sense. He makes some stupid decisions.
Yeah.
There's just so many things in this episode that don't make sense, and they all get written off like, oh, they just happened. They just happened to happen, and, you can't really question them or else you're a hater. If you give the show a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10, you're a hater. And if you question anything we do, you're not a real fan. That's the type of feeling that you get from this episode with these stupid plot decisions where it feels like they could just do anything that they want to do. And then it would be like, oh, wow, that's where the plot went. Wow. Oh, Jimmy transitioned into a woman? Oh, that makes total sense. Wink, wink. Like, that's where the show's at right now. And you're going to have all these fanboys on IMDb everywhere, all over the place, who are going to say, nothing in this episode could have happened any other way. And it's like, no, I don't think, no, I think that writers could write an episode any way they want. Like, I think that that's just total bullshit. Because that's the excuse they used for Nacho. That's the excuse they've used for Howard. It couldn't have happened any other way. Safi, what do you think of that? I mean, isn't that just the stupidest thing you've ever heard? It could, like, a TV episode couldn't have happened any other way. Like, there couldn't have been any changes. Like, it's just perfect because we made it. Like, that's just fucking retarded.
I don't think the thing with Howard, I don't think that had to happen that way.
I don't either.
I think that he could have not shown up that night, and you go into Breaking Bad and you just never see him, and because he's gone about his business.
No, he should have been included somehow, but not in terms of making him like some sort of well, he's like an object of guilt for Jimmy and Kim now, because
oh yeah,
ooh, we got him killed. Oh no, wah wah wah. Like, ugh. And why did he have to get killed, Safi? He had to get killed so that Lalo, the smart guy, could send one of them as a distraction to Gus's fake house, so that then he could go to the lab while all the security got called away.
that still amazes me, and it happened twice. Because first, all the security was what? Watching Gus. but there was nobody watching the apartment, which Mike had promised them. And they brought that up to him. And he didn't say anything, did he, in response?
No, remember he said he called away the people from two quote-unquote low-priority targets, even though they literally had a whole encounter where Lala went to their apartment and Mike had to be there with the sniper rifle.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, to me, it's not even a character for Mike, because I think that he would have still kept them on there, because he knows that Lala... I mean, did he really think Lala was that stupid? I guess he was, to serve the purposes of the writers and their agenda about shutting down immediately as soon as they can, because they wouldn't want to overstay their welcome, quote unquote. But the thing is, there are two things. First, all the people were taken off just to go to Gus's. To me, I mean, it's total underestimation of Lala, which makes no sense, especially for Mike, who seems to be... I could see how Gus and Lala both are a little over-emotional, but emotional meaning that they're out to get each other and they despise each other to the biggest degree on the planet. The other mistake is sending them all over, except for a couple of people with Gus, I guess. 2 or 3 people, I don't know how many. Sending all the rest of them to the apartment. Not even thinking that, well, maybe Gus is just using that as a distraction, and he's really coming to see Gus. He's not going to be at the apartment. And, I mean, to me, that's like, really, I mean, I was just thinking about it. Well, I was thinking about it before, too, when I saw it, because I was shocked. Because it just isn't Mike. And then, another thing I'm shocked about, all the stuff happens at the end, and you see Mike. And he goes up to Gus, and now this is so antithetical to Breaking Bad. We saw, if you're a Breaking Bad fan, which I imagine there's quite a few out there who would be listening to this channel, they were very close. Remember when Mike got hurt, when he got shot, he was near death. Gus had a doctor and they saved his life, and he was very upset about him being shot. And they were very close and helped each other. Well, it's mainly Mike helping Gus, but I mean, when he needed Gus, Gus was there to help him. And Mike says to Gus, all this stuff happens, and he says, were you happy with what happened? And he says, the next time that you decide to be a detective on your own or something like that, I don't know what he said, and he kind of made a little threat or warning or something, but he was kind of mean, and I don't know, I thought that was weird too. I didn't get it.
Well, it just shows that they're nowhere near where they were in Breaking Bad.
No, they sure aren't.
And for this whole series to have gone by, and it just feels like no progress has been made, except for like superficial progress, where it's like
people getting killed off.
People get killed, and oh wow, that's such good writing. Like, instead of actually constructing story where they're still around in Breaking Bad, they're around after Breaking Bad, it's just so much easier and more convenient to the writers to just kill them all off.
Well, that's the easy way out.
Yeah, it's called cop-out.
But the thing is, you know, Gus, the way Gus has been in this season, he's been like Darth Vader.
No, he's not in this season.
Well, I think he has been. I mean, he's
in this
just
season where he's been walking around like a
zombie,
a pussy.
Well,
walking around
don't say that, Marco.
walking around scared bodyguard, and he has to have his little bodyguards.
Oh yeah, that part
and
of
he has
it
a
is
little
weird.
tunnel, and he has a fake house, and he's like, "Ooh, no, ooh, I'm gonna check underneath the sink to see if Wallow is hiding underneath the sink. I'm gonna check the bathtub to see if Wallow is taking a bath in my bathtub with a shotgun in his hands."
But I think that's Spooky and Lalo's problem. They're just so into their revenge.
The problem
they've lost their brains.
The problem is, Safi, is that, and you really went too far, because we need to go through bit by bit and not
I know, but still,
rush around.
These mistakes
because
are so major.
Well, I know, we have to go through
sense.
each one, and so that we don't spend an hour.
Okay.
And we just go through each one,
okay,
and that's
well,
it.
That
So it starts off.
So
it starts off, and
surprises me.
It starts off, and immediately the biggest problem of this episode, besides the fact that it's trash, the biggest problem is that all the characters are pretty much acting completely out of character.
Yeah.
And that's a reoccurring problem in shows and movies that are bad, is that the characters don't act like how they're supposed to act, and what they do doesn't make sense. And you saw that with the recent Star Wars films, where they ruined all the characters and they ruined all the story. The characters don't act like how they acted in the older movies back when the movies were good. And it's the same thing in this episode, where you can go down the line. You have Jimmy, and he it would have been one thing if he had thought about it, but right off the bat he says for Kim to go instead of him. And they make it this really weird, season 4-esque scene where it's ooh, look, this is the selfish, audacious Saul, and it's coming out because he wants to send Kim. But, oh, maybe it's so he can protect her, so she's not with Wallow. And so you have that. He's acting completely out of character. And he just comes up immediately with this decision to send her. And then you have Kim. And
well, she's hysterical by the time it's all over.
Kim is just Kim, because the writers don't want anything bad to happen to Kim. They don't want her to have to go through anything, except for some light emotional trauma. In comparison to the other characters, I mean. And then you have Wallow, who has turned into the biggest retard in the whole universe. Where, here's the thing, Safi. If sending one of them to Gus's fake house was a distraction, then why did it matter who he sent? And why would he have been convinced to send Kim? You know what I mean? If it was just a distraction, then literally it wouldn't have mattered who he sent. So for him to be convinced, quote unquote, by Jimmy's reasoning is just really dumb. Because it really wouldn't matter if it's a distraction who he sends. What do you think about that, Safi? I mean, isn't that true?
Well, I suppose it is true. I guess the only reason why it'd be even more of a distraction, because they don't know Kim at all. Mike does know Kim, but none of the others do. And so it would even be a distraction for him, because, but then he's so smart, to me, he would know. And
yeah.
Like I said, he's real smart. He really is. And he's very good about anticipating.
Not in this episode.
I know.
In fact, that's the sad thing, is that you could have I would have honestly been okay with the story being that Mike is the one who figures it out and kills Wallow, and that cements his relationship with Gus, and that would make Gus forever really like and respect Mike.
Yeah.
But you remember that thing with, we have to keep the people on that certain street. I thought it could have been really cool, a 1v1 with Mike and Wallow. But unfortunately...
Actually, I thought that's what was going to happen.
I know, but unfortunately they wanted to make Mike an idiot. so that they could do their little Breaking Bad fan service plot where Wallow goes to the laundromat, and now he ties up Jimmy, and immediately we already have some cringeworthy Breaking Bad fan film style story where Jimmy says the line from Breaking Bad, "It wasn't me, it was Ignacio. He's the one." And, it's like, oh, wow, you just said a line from Breaking Bad that you said in Breaking Bad. Wow, that's just the greatest. Oh, my God. It couldn't have happened any other way, Safi.
Meh.
Nothing could. Oh, wow, that's just so intelligent writing. Not. That's what you call fan service, fan fiction shit. Where, like, how many times can we get the people in the Marvel movies to repeatedly say, I can do this all day? Like where they had that Peggy Carter in the Doctor Strange 2, she says, I can do this all day, and then she gets chopped in half. It was the same type of thing, the same type of queer thing where he says that, and it's like, really? Really? That's the reason why I thought the spoilers were fake, is because I thought there were too many cutesy fan fiction type of things like that like made me think there's no way that's the real episode that they actually put out on television, and that all these people. I mean, Safi, let's just talk about too the fact that automatically everyone's given this a 10 out of 10. They won't even give it a 9 out of 10, an 8 out of 10. They all give it a 10 out of 10. And they all say it's the Ozymandias of Better Call Saul. But then we all know next episode is going to be the Ozymandias of Better Call Saul.
Why?
As well. Because any episode where something dramatic happens in Better Call Saul is automatically
turned Ozymandias of
yeah.
Better Call Saul.
Yeah, it's true. Like people said, Plan and Execution was the Ozymandias of Better Call Saul. They said that Nacho's episode where he gets killed for no reason is the Ozymandias. And it's like, just fuck off with the Ozymandias shit. Like, see, that's how you know that these fanboys are false and they're fake and fraudulent.
Yeah.
Because if every episode is an Ozymandias, then no episode is an Ozymandias. Because it's like, not every episode is perfect. Like, sorry, but no matter what agenda they try to push with that, where it's like, we only have a certain amount of this and a certain amount of that. It's like, so your show isn't perfect. And
Nobody's show is perfect.
Yeah, no show is perfect.
Let's get real.
So, all these people who just give every episode 10 out of 10, they're a bunch of fakes and frauds.
Yeah, and I don't like it.
So,
I think they make reviewing as a whole and themselves look stupid.
Well, they do, because you can't take them seriously.
No.
Like, when you talk about the thing where, you want to listen to everyone's opinion, you really can't take that seriously, because they're being disingenuous, because not every episode of a show is a 10 out of 10. Even with Breaking Bad, not every episode was a 10 out of 10. Not even close. So what would the next thing be to talk about, Safi? Wallow going to the laundromat.
Almost everybody, all the security detail, goes to the apartment.
Yeah.
Kim is still, I guess, where is she? In the bathroom or something? I don't know. I saw somebody sitting in a chair after everything was
She's
over.
tied up in the living
room. At the back
room.
of her hair. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
She's tied up in the living room.
Okay, so she's, quote, tied up. Why? I don't think she is like PTSD. She's having almost a breakdown. She's not going to go anywhere, believe me. She would probably glue herself to the chair before she'd go anywhere. And so anyway, so we have almost everybody goes to the park. A few go to stay with Gus. Gus decides to go to the bay. Why did Gus do that? Why was Gus going to the... Did they tell him to do that? Or was this
No,
quote,
Safi, and
detective work?
here's the other hilarious thing. Gus, out of nowhere, magically figures out, oh, maybe I should go to the laundromat, so I should go do my little plan. And so he goes to the laundromat because he magically knows that Lalo's going to be there.
Because they know each other so well.
Because it's called plot convenience from bad writing.
I know.
And he goes there and, I did like all the acting in the episode, like especially Gus.
Yeah.
He was really cool in this episode.
And as a side note, we go to the laundromat once a week, and we saw a guy there who looked exactly like him and even had his mannerisms. And Marco and I kept feeling double takes because we thought, my God, that's Gus.
It was very creepy. It was creepy.
He hasn't been back, but he even wore the same kind of clothes.
And it was like it was a sign that he was going to go to the laundromat in this episode. And what happened was he parked right next to us.
Yeah.
And then he got out, and he had this strange routine where, like, people do a lot of weird things at the laundromat because they're bored.
And they say stupid stuff too. But
Gus Jr. He got out of his car and he's wearing like all black clothing. He has the same haircut as Gus.
Button-down shirt.
He has the same glasses as Gus.
Yep.
And he's got like a book in his hands or something. And he like opened his door and he like faced his car and like leaned against his car silently and solemnly. And then after like 10 minutes, he closes the door, slowly walks to the laundromat and goes in there and walks around in there. And he just slowly like paces around, like staring into space.
And looking at things, like examining them.
Like adjusting his shirt like Gus, and like it was bizarre.
It was. I can't forget it.
He was exactly like Gus, and he was actually very creepy. And I thought like, oh, is he like a fugitive or something? Or is he like I don't know, like, it was pretty creepy. And Safi didn't even get to ask him if he was in Breaking Bad, but he was just silently walking around. He never even said anything or anything to anyone.
Maybe he was a stunt double, although he doesn't really do any stunts.
I was like, what the hell? Like, why is Gus at the laundromat with us? Like, he didn't exactly look like Gus. Like, we knew that, okay, that's obviously someone else, but still, he's just like
bizarre.
Slowly walking around.
And he was just like him.
And like standing somewhere and staring.
Yeah.
And then he came outside, and there's this area where you walk off, and it's like the end of this fence, and he's just like slowly walks to that end of the fence. And then finally he left, and he acted, the speed of his movement was even exactly like Gus's in terms of his slow, methodical pacing. It was really weird.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I got off topic, but this show has the problems, and I thought it would be funny to share what we experienced, and I've never seen the guy there, and I haven't seen him since.
No.
So anyway, back to the show, and I guess it's just the turn of events was that Lalo shows up at Gus's, and Jimmy, meanwhile, they didn't forget him. He's all tied up to a chair, and he's so scared about Kim, and he tips himself over in trying to get away, and he ends up in his prone position looking at the dead body of Howard and just staring at his face. And he can't get out. He can't remove himself from the chair. That tipping over didn't do any good.
The cherry?
The chair.
You
I
said
the chair.
the cherry.
No, hon.
Yeah, you said cherry.
Anyway, I didn't.
I never saw Saul on a cherry, but anyway.
Back to the apartment.
Gus went to the laundromat for no reason. And then Lalo shows up magically. He teleports there.
Yeah.
And, how was the timing this accurate? Who knows? Lalo, all of Gus's men, they just walk in front of Lalo and stand there like shooting targets.
Yeah.
And then Lalo just is able to magically kill them all.
Wipes them off the planet.
Without getting a single wound or shot or anything.
Not even a scratch.
Not even like in Star Wars where the stormtroopers shoot really badly and miss the main characters. And then he pulls out his little video camera, and it's like this character's just completely gone downhill. Like, at the beginning of the season, he was our favorite character because he was the only one who had a strong motivation, which was to get vengeance for these innocent people. Because of those pieces of shit like Gus, who he hired the best in the business to go kill Lalo, and then they just go kill all these random people.
And they're nice people. They're not even bad people.
So,
for the most part.
He takes out his little video camera, and he does the classic cliche movie thing where the bad guy talks too much. And he has a chance to kill the good guy, and instead he talks too much, and it gives the good guy time to get his weapon and kill the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's literally just been done so many times in movies that you think, how in the hell could they still be doing that in 2022? Well, when you have a show where it's protected by this big bubble of idiots who just give everything a 10 out of 10, they're not going to be able to write anything good because they don't have the feedback that they need, and they don't have the constructive criticism that they need. Because if I was in the writer's room and I heard them say, let's have Lalo talk for like 10 minutes, and like, okay, stop, wait, like, no, we're not going to have the scene where the villain talks too much so the hero has time to do whatever he wants to do. That's stupid. That's been done a million times, and it's not special because it's Gus and Breaking Bad doing it. So Gus trips the lighting cord, and he grabs the gun that he hid in that really boring bad episode, and he shoots Lalo in the dark, emptying the gun. And I did like Gus's acting in the scene. He was really cool. But I did not like just the logic of it. It was just so anticlimactic and bad. And it just completely felt like they had this checklist of like, okay, we killed off another character. Like, wouldn't it have been cool, though? Like, if Lalo was the only villain from the Breaking Bad universe to survive? Like, I thought that would have been cool.
Yeah, but he wasn't in Breaking Bad.
That doesn't matter. He could have run away and assumed a new identity somewhere.
But I don't think he'd do that. He's too full of himself. That's the thing that was his downfall.
Well, maybe
he
could have.
He's very smart, but he got full of himself. Because, oh, wow, I finally got the person that I hate and despise, who killed all my people who were like family to me. And they were good people, working people. They weren't criminals of any kind. They were innocent people, and he killed them.
But maybe he could have come back later. Like, maybe he could have come back in the future or something. And then saw that Gus was already dead, and he's like, uh-oh.
Damn, I missed my chance.
Like, that would have been funny. Or it just,
he did miss his chance.
Just the fact that, and you know what else would have been really cool? And probably what I would have suggested is, Lalo was talking about how Gus has body armor, but it's too bad he doesn't have any body armor for his head. Well, wouldn't it have been a great twist if Gus had shot Lalo But then it turns out that Lalo had a bulletproof vest on too, because Gus only shot him in the chest. He shot him like in the upper chest, so it would have been so cool for it to be like a Michael Myers moment where Gus sees Lalo's dead body, and then like a second later, he's disappeared because he looked away. Like that would have been really cool and creepy for Lalo to have just slipped away like a snake. So I would have much preferred that instead of just having him be another checklist for the writers to say, yay, we can end the show now. So, next what happens is just a lot of nothing. Like, Mike covers everything up. He's very sad. He has to bury Howard with Lalo, which is like, who cares? Honestly, they're both corpses. Who cares about their identities? You're a criminal anyway. It's just so funny now. Mike is having all these feelings, but in season 4 he had no qualms about killing an innocent person at the end of it, killing that German guy for no reason other than Gus wanted him dead, so he had to do it. And as I said though, like Gus and Mike are nowhere near where they were in Breaking Bad. So that's the feeling I got from this episode. And it's funny because they've had all these opportunities to make them start to believe in each other and have a good relationship where they're finally like they are. But they don't take those chances because I guess that would require more writing and more episodes and more story. So what does it end with, Safi? Is it, it ends with like Jimmy and Kim are sitting on the bed together and
in shock, obviously.
And they fake Howard's death to make it look like he walked in the ocean, which I guess that's fine. But this episode was just so bad. It was so deflating and disappointing, and it really, the only thing you could say that's good is how it was made. It had great acting, it had great music, but that's another thing though, it seemed like they were forcing the music on you because the music was better than the actual story. Like the music was actually telling a better story than the story itself. But overall, I would give this episode, it's tough because I really hated it, but I can't give it an F because, well, I guess I could. I don't know. I'd just give it a D.
I'll give it a C. I thought it was too predictable.
It was.
There was no surprise. I mean,
they played it safe.
Yeah. We just watched Dark Wind. And, I've read all these books, and there's been a few predictable, like, oh, they've done that kind of thing before. But they still managed to stick in, and they had less episodes in this season. They only have one more than this series, which is wrapping up, which, maybe it is as it is nowadays. But they managed to stick in a few surprises. And it didn't take long at all. And they stuck them in, they made sense, and it'll probably come up the last episode, in the finale, because they had all this stuff. It's like a culmination. And here, they have a chance to do the same thing. They can put in a few surprises, make things interesting, spice it up. Quit making it so, I didn't pay attention to these spoiler things. Marco told me of one.
Well,
whatever,
I thought they'd be a joke because when Breaking Bad's final season came out, there were a lot of these really funny fake spoilers.
Yeah,
like
I remember.
Walter kisses Marie, and then he visits his mother in a nursing home when he's on the run, and everyone's looking for him. And I guess that was like a parallel to Gus visiting Hector or something, but. I just thought that it'd be funny to hear some like fake spoilers but then they turned out to all be true, and it was like, wow, I guess I should have figured that the worst possible thing would be the thing they choose to do.
Sorry.
The worst possible story, because you couldn't have written a worse story than the story in this episode, in terms of how disappointing it was, and how much it didn't make sense how Gus went from being this scared little crybaby bitch in the first half of the season to being this cold, calculated badass who kills Lalo in 2 seconds and is like blowing the smoke on the barrel of his gun like a Wild West star or something, and that's what it felt like. But overall, the last thing that I'd have to say is this episode reminded me a lot of Hell on Wheels, the final season, once again. You know, we had last episode, which felt like Hell on Wheels, the Gambit episode with the fake kidnapping. This episode was a lot like the first episode of the second half of the final season, where the main character finally gets the bad guy of the whole series, who he's evaded death multiple times. And you thought he was dead, but he wasn't. But this time, he catches him, and he handcuffs himself to him, and he drags him across the desert to the nearest town and has him executed. And that's exactly what this episode felt like. It just felt like us writers, we have to kill this character, even though it would have been so much more entertaining to keep him around. We have to kill him off so that we can get the show over with. So I guess there's going to be a lot more similarities to the final season of Hell on Wheels, which is not fun, because the final season of Hell on Wheels was trash. So, Safi?
Like I said, I don't even remember what I gave it. I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, you're always tired.
No, I got up in the middle of the night. I thought it was time to get up. Anyway.
Well, wouldn't you agree it reminded you of that? The way that, like, just the whole episode, the whole purpose of the episode is, let's kill that character. And, I forgot one thing is that the reason why he thinks that Lalo is still alive in Breaking Bad is because Mike doesn't even tell him that he's dead. He just says, it's done. And how stupid that is, that whole, for years and years and years, Jimmy still thinks that he's alive because Mike just can't give him the common courtesy of saying, that guy is dead. Remember that at the end, Safi?
No, I don't.
He kept on saying, it's done. It's done. And it's like, God, why won't he just say he's dead? Like, it's just 2 words.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it takes. So, just, ugh. So, Safi?
So if you like this video, please give it a like, thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel because we enjoy having new subscribers. We also like to hear your comments. We'd like to hear what you thought about this honestly. I mean, really. I guess if you saw it and you really liked it, that's one thing. But if you didn't see it and you said, oh, they're all going to be perfect and the best episode on the planet, you shouldn't even bother being on YouTube at all, because you're being disingenuous to yourself.
You know what I think, Safi? I think that our review of this episode is the Ozymandias of Better Call Saul reviews. She just fell asleep.
Oh, God.
What do you think of that, though, Safi? Do you agree?
I don't know.
Maybe you're just going to fall asleep. Goodbye, everybody. See you
Bye.
soon.